All right, so this is a quick circles review that I would encourage you to try on your own and then check your answers. Okay, so let's get after it. So real quick, you have to remember that we have a few formulas here. One is if you have a circle and the vertex of the angle is at the circle, the central angle and the arc are congruent. So the central angle is equal to the arc. Then the next one we had is an inscribed angle, right? So here is your inscribed angle, right? And here is the arc. When you look at this, remember the inscribed angle is equal to the arc divided by 2. Remember, it's equal to half the arc. Okay? Then, when you had an inside angle, right? So, if I had an angle that was somewhere inside the circle, like this angle here, you have to remember that you take the two arcs that get eaten, and it's arc plus arc divided by 2. Okay? And then the last one was that outside angle. When we look at this outside angle, you have to remember that you have your far arc, you have your near arc, and what you're going to basically do is say that outside angle is equal to the far arc minus the near arc divided by 2. So these are the formulas we're basically working with. So the first example here talks about find the measure of arc R to X to Q, that arc there. If I look, I don't have a central angle, I don't have an inscribed angle, I don't have an outside angle, but what I do have is this inside angle. And that inside angle eats this arc, and it eats this arc. So what we're basically going to say is arc plus arc divided by 2 gives you that inside angle. So this arc here, we're just going to say arc RXQ plus that 50-degree arc, all divided by 2, is equal to 120. So multiply by 2, and arc RXQ plus 50 is equal to 240. And when you subtract the 50, you get RXQ is equal to 190 degrees. Okay? Now to find this outside angle, you got to remember you have this here. So you have to remember you have your far arc here, you have your near arc here, and we are going to use that formula. But the thing is, I don't know the yellow far arc. But what do the green and yellow arcs have to add up to? 360. So 360 minus 118 gives you 242. So now this measure of angle E is equal to 242 minus 118, all divided by 2. And angle E would equal 62 degrees. Okay? Now to find the measure of arc XW, that's this arc here. Right away you have to notice that this arc here, right? You don't know the inscribed angle or anything like that. But once you look at this inscribed angle, I can multiply that by 2 and get that this arc is 68 degrees because I doubled that angle to get the arc. Well, if this is the diameter, what do these two arcs have to add up to? So arc XW is equal to 180 minus 68. So arc XW is equal to 112 degrees. Okay, So, next one. Find the measure of angle G. Again, I have an outside angle, so angle G is an outside angle, so I know I'm going to do far, which in this case is 149, minus the near, which is 69, all divided by 2, and angle G would be 80 divided by 2, which is 40 degrees. Next one. You know 1 and 2 are vertical angles, so they're both congruent. Since it's an inside angle, I know I have to find the two arcs that get eaten, this arc and this arc. And remember, an inside angle, it's arc plus arc divided by 2. So 110 divided by 2 would give me angle 1 is 55 degrees. For example 6, right? So now angle 1 is an inscribed angle. I need to know the measure of this arc in order to find it. What do all three of these arcs have to add up to? Okay, I'm going to first start out by doing 360 minus 130 minus 156. So 360 minus 130 minus 156 gives me 74 degrees. Now, if that arc is 74 degrees, that angle 1 is going to be half of that. 74 divided by 2 is 37 degrees. Okay? Now, example 7, right? This is an outside angle, and I'm looking for the near arc here. So when I look, that's my far arc. This is what I'm looking for, my near arc, and I'm going to use the formula, right? That the outside angle is equal to the far minus the near, all divided by 2. So my far is 110 minus, I don't know my near, which is arc TV, all divided by 2 is equal to 30 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 2. So it gives me 110 minus arc TV equals 60. Subtract that 110. Negative arc TV equals negative 50. So arc TV would be 50 degrees. Okay. Now the next one. X is an outside angle. Okay. So I need this near arc and I need this far arc to find it. Think about it. This far arc, if this is an inscribed angle, I'm going to double 80 degrees to get 160. I'm going to use this angle here. To find this green near arc, right, I'm going to use this 20 degree angle. I'm going to double it to get that this is 40. So X now would be 160, my far arc, minus my near arc, all divided by 2. 120 divided by 2 will give you 60 degrees. Okay, and we are done. Now the next one, if we have to find these arcs and all that. First thing is if this central angle is 50, I know that this is 50. So if I wanted to find EH, all I'm going to do is say 360 minus 155 minus 50, right, would give me, what is that? Gives me 155. So this arc here is 155 degrees. Now, EHG, from E, actually I'm going to do it in yellow, E to H to G. All I'm going to do is add those together. So that's 155 plus 50, which is 205. Then arc G to E to H. To me, the easiest way, you can either add these arcs up or I could basically just do 360 minus 50 would give me 310 degrees. And then angle GFH, oh, it should have been GEH, so change this to an E, and that would be half of 50, which is 25 degrees. Okay. Now, a couple of these algebra problems, right, when we look at them, you have to remember that if I'm looking for x here, I need to know the measure of this angle is going to be half of that 20. So this angle is actually 10 degrees. So to find x, all I'm going to do is 2x minus 4 equals 10. Add 4 to both sides. Divide by 2. X is equal to 7. Okay? Now, here, I know right away that the endpoints are on the diameter. So this is 180 degrees, which makes this 90 degrees. 4x minus 6 equals 90. 4x equals 96. X equals 96 divided by 4 gives you 24. Okay? Now this last problem, it looks really intimidating, but remember, it's really not as bad as you think. Okay? So just take it piece by piece, formula by formula. So AE and DF are diameters. GA and GD are tangents, right? And they tell you AF is 70. So arc AF is 70. BC is 30. And then they tell you AB is congruent to CD. Okay? Now, with that, what you have to understand is I'm going to find all of the arcs first. If AE is a diameter, and I'm just going to draw this in and then I'll erase it. What do these two arcs have to add up to, right? These two arcs have to add up to 180. So if that's 70, 180 minus 70 is 110. Okay? So now, after I have that arc, now I'm going to go and look at this diameter, right? I'm going to say, if this is the diameter, then all of these arcs have to add up to 180. So if I do 180 minus 70 minus 30, that gives me 80. If these two arcs add up to 80 degrees and are congruent, 80 divided by 2 is 40 degrees. And then right away, if that's 40, that's 30, that's 70. That's 110, which makes that 70 degrees because all of these arcs have to add up to 180. So once I know the measure of the arcs, now it's just find the angle measures. And highlighting the diagram is the easiest thing to do. Now, personally, I'm not going to find them in any special order. I'm going to find the easy ones first, which are the inscribed angles. If I look at angle 4, inscribed angle, right? All it is excuse me. All I'm going to do is find the measure of this arc, which is 70 degrees. Excuse me again. And 70 divided by 2 would be 35 degrees. Now, if I look at angle 6, that's a central angle. Central angles are equal to the arc, so if I follow those down, angle 6 is just 70 degrees. If I look at angle 5, has endpoints here and here, it's an inscribed angle, so it's made up of this line and this line. So it's just 90 divided by 2, which is 45 degrees, or sorry, 180 divided by 2, sorry, which is 90 degrees. Okay, angle 10, if I follow those lines down, angle 10 intercepts this arc here, which means you're just going to take 110 divided by 2, which is 55 degrees. Angle 8, if I look here and here, it eats this arc. So angle 8 is just 70 divided by 2, which is 35 degrees. So basically what I'm doing is finding all the inscribed and central angles first because they're the easiest. So now let me do some erasing here. Okay, and now right away when I look, if I'm looking for angle 7, I'm going to follow the lines all the way down to the circle that make up that angle. So I can see that it eats this arc and it eats this arc. So this arc is 70. So we're going to do for angle 7, we're going to do 70 plus. This arc is 40 plus 70, which is 110, all divided by 2, which is going to give you 90 degrees. Okay. Now, angle 3. This is an outside angle, and if I draw these lines all the way down, I notice it intercepts this far arc and this near arc. So, angle 3 is just going to be 110 minus 30, all divided by 2, which would give you 40 degrees. Angle 9, if I look, outside angle. So if I trace it down, I know here's my near arc, right? And if I trace this line all the way down to here, here's my far arc. So I'm just going to do 70 minus 40 divided by 2, which would be 15 degrees. Angle 1 is made up of this line, and it's made up of this line. So it eats this arc, and it eats this arc, right? So arc DE is 70 degrees, plus, if I look at this arc, you have to add 30 plus 40 is 70, plus 70 is 140, so plus 140 divided by 2, it's going to give you 210 divided by 2, which is 105 degrees, is angle 1. All right, angle 2 is an outside angle. And if I look, angle 2 is made up of this line and this line, which means it eats this arc and it eats this arc. This far arc, you should notice, is half a circle, so it's just 180 minus my near arc is 70 divided by 2, and if you do 110 divided by 2, you would get 55 degrees. Okay, so go ahead, try the homework assignment and check your answers, and let me know if you have any questions.